Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Higher or Lower, the show brought to you by oddschecker, Spreadex and the Sporting Index, where we look ahead to the weekend's football and say if we think the eventual spread betting results will be higher or lower than the midpoint. Didn't I make it sound interesting and fun?
You did. Because it is. That's why.
It is. I'm George Ellick. This is Jack Wright.
Hello.
This is Daniel Worth.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Very good, thanks.
Nervous about Reading's chances of getting into the playoffs in League One?
No, because I think the best part of it not fully being in our hands is that there's nothing to be nervous about. All we can do is win. And if we don't, it's fine.
Quality. Jack, how are you? You nervous about Norwich's final game?
Yeah, we could get up to like 13th, maybe 14th. So, yeah, it's going to be a brilliant game in the sunshine at Carrow Road.
Mid-table mediocrity.
Couldn't have put it better
for both
myself.
The yellow teams in the Championship.
Yeah.
Very similar teams, I'd say. Similar style, similar quality.
Exactly right.
Similar points tally.
Yeah.
Similar expectations for next season. Just kind of hoping to develop into a team that can challenge for the Premier League.
Yeah, that's all we can dream of.
It is. Right. Let's get into the action. It's unbelievably a Premier League only docket this week, despite it being final day in the Championship at 12:30. Yeah.
Too much choice, wasn't there?
All the games on TV.
All of them. What I was going to do.
All the games on TV.
Let's just do every single Championship game this week.
Total goals across all the games.
You'd love that though, wouldn't you?
Interesting. Man City Wolves. We've got the best team in England against Manchester City here. Wolves banging form. City returning to some form, obviously with their FA Cup semi-final win last weekend. They'll be playing Palace in the final in a month or so's time. But this is total goals in City versus Wolves. 3.3 is the midpoint in the Spreadex. So 3.2 to sell, 3.4 to buy. 3, 2, 1. What are you doing, mate?
What are you two doing?
The sun's come out and it's got to you.
What are you doing? Fun in the sun?
Fun in the sun. Well, it's partly in the sun and partly in darkness. This is Friday night, isn't it? So, yeah, light and shade, quite literally. I think Wolves are going to go to Manchester City and have a go. As I said, they are in absolutely fantastic form. 6 wins on the spin. Only Newcastle and Liverpool were better since Vitor Pereira joined the Molineux club. And City still need points. They're in the FA Cup final, but at this moment in time, we've obviously got Nottingham Forest versus Brentford after we've recorded this. So Manchester City could be 5th in the table come the kick-off here. So they have certainly got to win games. And I've got a sense that I watched that game against Crystal Palace a couple of home games ago for Manchester City, and it was carnage. But they committed forward, and Palace hit them on the break. And I think Wolves can do that. And I think their main man is in great form, and he's got a real platform to go and showcase what he can do here. Matheus Cunha. I think he could be the kind of catalyst for a game which will have plenty of goals. I can't see it being like a 0 or 1. Obviously, I need 4 for this to be higher and for me to win. But they're good away from home. They've scored in 9 of their last 10 away games, 7 in 17. There's been 4 more in 41% of their games. And so you look at the Man City's games, 5 of the last 8 at home have gone higher. The lowest they've seen in those games is 2 goals. The highest they've seen is 7. So I think it's going to be in that neck of the woods, and therefore I'll be prepared to go higher.
Lovely stuff. You agree with me on the lower. Why?
Yeah, I mean, 3 goals between these two sides is the most common in their last 6. 4 of the last 6 have seen exactly 3. And admittedly, the other 2 went pretty wild. But I just think City obviously still have the top 4 to play for. That's not home and hosed yet. And I think they'll look to keep it tight. I agree with you that I don't think it'll be 0 or 1. I think it'll probably be 2 or 3, but that'll be enough. I think City win maybe 2-1, 2-0, something like that.
2-1, 2-0, a summit like that, according to Dan. Yeah, I kind of looking at City's. Wolves' form is obviously very impressive, but you take out the home games where they've been free scoring, and it tells a different story. They've won their last 4 games, but all 4 of those have been under 4 goals. 2 2-1 wins, a 1-0 win against United, a 1-0 win against Bournemouth. Even the 2-1 defeat against Liverpool. There's only 1 game dating back in this whole calendar year that's gone over 3 goals in a Wolves away game, and that was at Chelsea, and that was only 3-1. So mainly Wolves for me this. I think sorting out their defensive side of things away from home has in particular been why their form has been so good. And yeah, I think it's a relatively high line, happy to go under. Villa hosting Fulham. Next up, total goal minutes is the market we're looking at here. 151 is the midpoint, 146 to sell, 156 to buy with spread X. We're going higher or lower. 3, 2, 1. On my own.
Yes. Why?
I don't know. I just kind of, going back to, do you remember I used to just always go lower on goal minutes? And I kind of got a bit confused this season, and I've gone back and forth. Like, Fulham have been pretty good for goals for the most part over the course of the campaign. We've seen that drop off a little bit in terms of goal expectancy. None of their games, the last 3 games have been 1, 3 and 3. Away from home in particular, they've only scored 4 goals in the last 4 away games. Up against the Villa side who just played a lot of football recently. And I think when you play a lot of games, often it can translate into relatively drab affairs. They were not at their best whatsoever against Palace in the FA Cup. Semi-final, there was a 2-1 game against City where they conceded late. But and without Rashford out as well, that impacts their attacking prowess. Again, it's a line where we can see a few goals and still go under. And 151, I'm happy to sell. Jack, why are you going overs?
Yeah, I think Villa have gone from fighting on 3 fronts really, FA Cup, Champions League, and to get in that top 5 to now just getting in the top 5, and it's out of their hands. They need to win every game really to have a chance of breaking into that. So I think they'll throw everything at this one. Part of my thinking is what you mentioned, the fact that Rashford being out. I think there's players, especially Ollie Watkins, with a little bit of a point to prove, and that they have got a lot of firepower even without Rashford in the side. So you'd assume now Watkins will be a given in that front 3. And so you've got Asensio, you've got Milan, you've got Rodgers, and you've obviously got 2 or 3 others in that kind of midfield supporting act as well. They're very strong at home. I think they'll look to take this to Fulham, get the win on the board, and then sort of see where it takes them. 3-1 in the reverse fixture, 3-1 in this last season as well. And Fulham generally score away, as you mentioned it. They've only failed to score in one of the last 16 road trips in the league. So I think they can score and probably will score. But I do take Villa to win. So if I'm thinking there's going to be 3 or more goals in this, I think 151 is a fair enough line for me to attack higher.
Good stuff. Dan?
I really have nothing to add. It's the both teams to score here that sort of tipped me over the edge. And plus, it's a relatively low line. But yeah, I think both teams score. So 2 goals already in the bank feels like a very strong foundation. Was 3-1 in the reverse, as you mentioned, but 2 goals in the first 10 minutes there kind of scuppered this, and it made up 1-4-2. I don't think there's going to be 2 goals in the first 10 minutes this time, so we might get up over 1-5-1. There's been at least 3 goals in all of Villa's last 5 Premier League games, so yeah, they're conceding and scoring. And they obviously have to bounce back from a shock FA Cup exit. I'm saying shock because you two obviously backed them to win against Brighton. No, I didn't. But they need to bounce back and at home, and I probably back them to do so, to be fair.
I think it's certainly a shock performance rather than a shock result, but yeah.
I didn't actually hear what you said, so...
It's for the best. Let's move on, shall we?
I'm joking. Well done, mate.
Thanks,
Congratulations on that
Very
really good
strong
pick.
week. Very strong week.
I certainly was not shocked that you picked a winner.
That's kind.
Arsenal hosting Bournemouth. I was going to say Aston Villa, and then I had to change.
Right, okay.
Arsenal hosting Bournemouth is the 3rd game we're looking at here. Arsenal, fresh off a disappointing defeat against PSG in midweek, and a 1-0 defeat where they conceded early. And Donnarumma put in one of those performances that scuppered or stifled Arsenal, and means they're probably looking unlikely to progress into the Champions League final. Against Bournemouth here, first match goal is the market, 35.5 is the midpoint here, 34 to sell, 37 to buy. So if we're selling, then we want a goal in the first 35 minutes. Higher would be 36 or later. 3, 2, 1. You don't think there's going to be many goals? 0-0?
No, I'm not sure about 0-0. I think it's probably going to be a 1-0 to the Arsenal, to be honest. The averages of time a first goal scored for both of these teams are above this line, albeit Arsenal's 36, so essentially is the line. Bournemouth's is 44. Took until the 70th minute in the reverse for the deadlock to be broken. I know from your point of view, you'll tell me that Saliba was sent off in the 30th minute, so that probably shut Arsenal up a fair bit. But I think you do have to look at that. I just think I guess you can read the Champions League defeat one of 2 ways. Like, they're going to come flying out the trap here and prove a point, or they're going to be knackered and not necessarily do that. Basically what I'm trying to say is I don't really have this down as like a full throttle fixture. I think it will just be a little bit of we've got to get these games done and full focus on next week in Paris. So yeah, higher. I think it may be a goal in the first half, but just in that last 10 minutes.
You tell yourself, and not so you think there's going to be a goal, but between the 36th and the 45th minute. You're now going to predict there's going to be like an injury in the first 10 minutes. It's going to mean there's going to be loads of injury time, and therefore it's going to come later.
I can make those predictions if you want.
Yeah, it feels like normally the line here is like 30-ish. We're getting 5 more minutes. As you know, 5 minutes is a long time in football.
Yeah.
Arsenal, clearly from it feels like their blueprint for qualification in the Champions League is built around a kind of solid defensive unit, and obviously that was undone to an extent, conceding so early. But their games in the league have been quite high scoring. They scored 4 against Ipswich, and the last away game there was that 2-2 game against Palace last time. We've only had 1 goalless draw in the calendar year against Nottingham Forest away from home. Their home games in particular, the onus on them to attack, and they normally do. So, yeah, they're not the most electric attacking side, but they still, obviously with Saka back as well, have plenty of tools to hurt teams. Up against the Bournemouth side, who generally score on the road and generally concede on the road too. So I think this should be quite a high scoring game, and therefore it being a slightly higher line than normal is enough to get me involved. Jack?
Yeah, I think Arsenal will be rotated to some degree, which will mean there will be fresh legs and probably more rotated in those forward areas. So you will see Wanyeri coming in, I'd imagine. But also you'd likely, because of the limited choice, like to have one of, if not both of, Martinelli and Trossard, who are in decent form, certainly in the league, playing. And I've just looked through it and say, yeah, Bournemouth absolutely are that sort of side that will go and look to counter-attack. Arsenal will look to take it to them. And obviously Evan Nielsen had his red card rescinded, so will be available. They've got some players in decent form there. And I just looked at the basic stats across the season. 13 first half goals in 17 Arsenal home games, that's 76%. 14 of 17 Bournemouth away games, that's 82%. Arsenal scored in 71% of their first half of home games. Average time of first goal in respective home and away games, you just drilled into the whole
I'll just go on averages,
detail, yeah. It's 32.88 for Arsenal and 30.63 for Bournemouth. 5 of the last 6 have gone lower than this, averaging 27.83 and 22.4 respectively. And 8 of the last 10 respective home and away games have gone lower. So, yeah, I think we've got a bit of wiggle room with that lower, and I'm prepared to take the chance that there will be a quick start.
Lovely stuff. Yes, quick start. I'm with you on that one. 2 more games to cover before we get into our naps of the weekend. Brighton. Why can't I say any team's name? Brighton against Newcastle. Brighton Newcastle next up. Total goals is the market here with Sporting Index 3.2. Is the midpoint 3.1 to sell, 3.3 to buy. Brighton versus Newcastle. Total goals 3, 2, 1.
All in.
All in agreement.
That's not a shock. Just feels like there's a lot of goals in this game, doesn't there?
Goalsy is how I describe this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And Newcastle will be all out to win. Of course, they are every week, but they're in pole position at the minute. They do hold that top 5 finish in their own hands. Currently 3rd at time of recording, might be 4th by the time they kick off here. Lots going on, isn't there, in the Premier League? And yeah, you look at the both respective home and away games this season. 35% of Brighton's gone over 3.5 goals, which is obviously what we need here. 41% of Newcastle away games. And the key element for me in this, I think, is that Brighton are just conceding so many goals at this moment. They've conceded 2 or more goals in each of their last 6. I think they will just offer Newcastle so many options going forward. Jacob Murphy, so good to see him like in the absolute form of his career, and he just keeps getting better and better. And on the left-hand side, I think they've got that competition over there. Harvey Barnes got the shirt at the moment, but Anthony Gordon's desperate to get it back off of him. And I think that just lends itself to the fact that his goals. And Isak, we know, is one of the best strikers in the Premier League, albeit slightly off his game at the moment, but still scoring goals. So you can't ask for more than that. And yeah, I feel that this is a massive, probably the best opportunity Newcastle have got this season for the remaining fixtures to go and get a win to keep in that pole position.
Yeah, good stuff. Dan?
Yeah, really not much to add. Been lots of goals in Brighton games. Been lots of goals in Newcastle games. Put them together. That maths suggests to me that there might be goals in this game. But yeah, like Brighton are conceding. I didn't actually have it down that they've conceded 2 or more in the last 6. That's obviously huge. And with when you're leaking goals, Newcastle are probably in the top 3 worst teams to face. So
Exactly.
there you go.
I can't, yeah.
Yeah, it's like they let 2 in against Leicester, I think, which is a bit of a benchmark at the moment if you're doing that. I think Leicester's only game they scored in the last 10 was that one. So, yeah, they're in trouble.
Yeah, I kind of like these games where you've got a game between one side who, they want to finish as high as possible, but realistically finishing anywhere of any note is unlikely now. 51 points in 9th. Yeah, they're 6 points behind Aston Villa in 7th. Like, it feels like there's a very obvious top 7 now who are vying for these 7 places, or vying for the top 6. So you got one where they can kind of cut free a little bit without the pressures involved in what they're going to achieve this season up against a Newcastle side that need to win. So when you've got one team you need to win, one team who are just there for a bit of a shootout, I think games can often go a bit mad there. It's
Pressure
not
on Hurtzler? Booed off against Leicester?
Possibly.
Some noises around the fact that they're disappointed with how he's performing.
Yeah,
So,
possibly. But it still feels like a bit of a free hit for them, unlike their opponent here who'll definitely want to win. So, I'm in agreement here that it should be pretty end-to-end and should be a good game for the neutral, at the very least, between 2 attacking sides. Chelsea hosting Liverpool now. Liverpool now champions of the Premier League, confirmed champions, Premier League title holders. How are they going to be here? Are they going to be hungover? Are they going to be like, let's get loads of points? Who knows? Up against a Chelsea side who are very much involved in that scrap at the top end of the Premier League for jockeying for European positions ahead of next season. Chelsea favourites here. The Sporting Index. 0.35 is the midpoint. 0.25 to sell. 0.45 to buy. 3, 2, 1.
Oh,
That is wild.
Is it?
Chelsea.
How much do you think they had to drink?
Don't know.
They've got to beat Chelsea or draw against Chelsea.
Yeah.
Wow. Tell me.
So Chelsea's form, I would say, has been like sneaky all right recently.
Yeah.
And they're not playing that badly. Their results, especially at home, have been relentlessly good. They've only lost 2 games at home all season. Yes, of course, the Ipswich game the other day wasn't particularly good, but prior to that's their only game they haven't won at home in their last 6. In their last 7. They've seen off some decent opposition in that time. I know that Liverpool are obviously a cut above. They're the best team in the league so far this season. But away from home, they've only won 2 of their last 5. They've only won 4 of their last 8. It's not been that impressive. Yes, they've lost 1 against Fulham, but now, off the back of already winning the league and a week of celebrations, I'm happy to take a chance that they're going to be not bang at it. It's not like they've got any points records that they're aiming at here. And they've been, I think it's pretty obvious to me that Liverpool haven't been the same side in the last, 2 months as they were at the start of the season. So, yeah, Chelsea are going to do a job on them. Dan, why am I stupid?
Well, Chelsea haven't beaten Liverpool in their last 10 meetings. And despite their form that you mentioned, I just don't really think they've got it in them to beat Liverpool, one of the best defences in the league. And, Chelsea aren't exactly lighting things up, even if they are getting results. I just can't be siding with Chelsea, particularly with their European jaunt. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Commitments, there we go. Of which I imagine they're going to put a fair whack into. Obviously, they're blessed with a squad that allows them to almost play 2 different sides, but I still think it will have some toll on them. And then, welcoming the best team in the land, what is it, 3 days later is tough. And I get 2 results on side here, and I'm definitely going to be using them.
Jack?
Yeah, you did focus on the games that Chelsea had won. You focused on the games that Liverpool won. Obviously, the key element for me here is that Chelsea won 10 of their 17 at home, but that means they haven't won 7 of those 17, so that's not a bad situation. The key thing for Liverpool is they've only lost 1 away from home all season. They are the champions. I don't think there will be a massive drop-off from them. That's my take on it, which what this kind of opinion comes down to, isn't it? Do you think Liverpool are going to drop off big style from winning the title last weekend? The likes of Salah with their own personal goals to go for and their own drive, and I think with Van Dijk at the back, Alisson, they've got enough of those key, huge players that I just feel that their levels will be high enough to at least avoid defeat against Chelsea, who I'm still not massively convinced about. A lot of those recent wins that you talked about have been against the lower ranked sides in the league, so I just think that Liverpool will be able to go there and frustrate at least, get a point at least, I wouldn't be surprised if they win at a big price, actually.
Interesting. Right. Time for our naps, our best bets of the weekend. Dan, you've been the nap king all season, so Jack, you take us away.
I'm going for a game in the Championship.
So am I.
Right, okay.
Is it the same?
I don't know. I'm going to narrow it down by saying I'm going to be there to watch it.
Nope.
Yeah.
You're buying total goal minutes.
Norwich Cardiff. Yeah, I'm going to go for Norwich mini performance, and I'm going higher. The midpoint.
Jack Wilshere's the new Pep Guardiola, is he?
Well, he's probably better than that, actually, to be perfectly honest. He's a very handsome man as well, isn't he? What a cheeky smile.
And just smashed the London Marathon as well.
Smashed the London Marathon.
Steady going right. Did not Hunt do that?
I'm not sure, probably not. He's got games to look forward to
Right,
that mean something.
Okay.
Yeah. So good. Yeah, nice. And part of that is there was a massive uptick in not necessarily the performance levels. I think the performance levels last weekend against Middlesbrough after the sacking of Johannes Hoftorp, there was a definite, noticeable difference as far as the commitment and energy and effort levels were concerned, which was a concern like prior to that. So, home game against relegated Cardiff. I've sort of seen this script before when there's actually nothing on it that Norwich come to the party and put in a decent performance. For this to actually win, all I need is Norwich to score 2 goals and win the game. Just to break down for people what the points are in a mini performance: 15 points for a win, 5 points for a draw, 10 points per goal, 5 points for a clean sheet, which probably won't happen, and minus 15 for a red card. So I think for me personally, Norwich avoid a red card in this one, and I think that the home and I can see there's some big performances for players that will potentially be playing, probably be playing their last game for the club. So and again, that final audition for Jack Wilshere, for Norwich to become Jack Wilshere's Norwich City.
Dan?
I look forward to facing one of those sides next season. I'm going back to Liverpool's party at Chelsea, and I'm backing Chelsea bookings at 22.5 higher buying. Yeah. Worst disciplinary record in the league, 92 yellows for more than any other side, coming up against probably the best attack, maybe in the world, definitely in England. 30 in the reverse, which is just about enough to land this, but I think Liverpool and as you said earlier, Salah will be going at it, and I think Chelsea might get frustrated, and there'll be bookings galore.
Cucurella frustrated against Salah? No way. Who's the whistleblower?
That's a good question.
Okay, good.
Edward Snowden.
Nice. Love him. Yeah.
Right.
Mountain of a man.
My nap is in Plymouth Argyle against Leeds United. Plymouth Argyle, a team who are relegated already to League One, playing Reading next season. Leeds United, a team already promoted to the Premier League.
Yeah.
We'll be playing Oxford in 2 years' time. And
can't slow back down.
No. And I'm buying goals cubed here at quite a high, eye-watering 70. But this game has potential to go pretty mad, I think. Argyle's record at home against teams in the top 10 is played 9, won 6, drawn 2, lost 1. Now, that is mad. But the scorelines themselves, starting with West Brom in 10th, 2-1 win, 3-all draw, 2-1 win, 5-1 win, 3-1 win, 2-all draw, 3-2 win, 2-1 win, 5-0 defeat. So in all of those games, the lowest number of goals has only occurred 3 times is 2-1, which still makes up 27. Up against the Leeds side, who we have seen in their last couple of games put 4 past Bristol City and put 6 past Stoke, right? So from an attacking perspective, especially at home, annoyingly, they are phenomenally good. But away from home, their clean sheet record at home is so strong. Away from home, it's not the case. So they've kept clean sheets in the last 2, but prior to that, conceded 2 against QPR, 1 against Luton, 1 against Pompey, 1 against Sheffield United. The Leeds obviously want the title, so they'll be going for it to win the title. Argyle will be desperate, and there's no way. I mean, either they roll over, which I don't think is going to happen. If they do roll over, then Leeds are going to win this by a landslide anyway, and then it goes mad. Or it becomes one of these ridiculous games where there's no jeopardy in it, but both teams are throwing hammer and tong to try and win it. There's no reason at all for Argyle to try and sit and soak and try and just see off Leeds. Like, I think this is a game that could end up a mad score. And at 70, I'm happy to get involved.
What's the price on 0-0?
Right, so thank you to you guys for watching this week's episode of Higher or Lower. If you haven't got a Sporting Index account or a SpreadX account, click on the description the link in the show description. Sign up for a new account there. There is a new customer offer. T's and C's to apply. Do remember with spread betting, losses can exceed your initial deposit. Oddschecker have you covered for your fixed odds betting needs. WhoScored.com for all your stats, research ahead of the football. Jack, enjoy the game at Carrow Road.
I will do. Thank you very much.
Dan, I assume you're going to Reading's biggest game of the decade.
Yeah, mate, it should be good.
Where is it?
It's at the Select Car Leasing Stadium
Okay, and you're going,
in
yeah?
RG2.
How are you getting there?
Train probably from London.
So you are going?
No, I'm not going. I'm not going. But it's live on Sky Sports Plus, and I will be watching it there with my good friends who also support Reading, and we'll be having a great time in the sun, probably in a pub somewhere in East London.
So loads of Reading fans who live in London not going to the game. Thank you guys for watching.
Sold out, innit?
We'll see you again next week. Absolutely no chance.
Well, yeah, we'll have more fans there on Saturday than you've had all season.
We'll see you again next week. Enjoy the football and please ensure you're gambling responsibly.